Hello, friends of mine. So I'm going to show you today, I'm just going to go through a little bit. This is your math work sample that you have coming up that's due. And let's take a look. This work sample is about equivalent fractions. So the directions say complete the mini project. When you have finished, submit this assignment to your teacher. So remember, you can go ahead, this document that I've sent you, you can go ahead, save it on your computer. You can type your answers directly into it and then send it to me as an attachment in an email. That's one way. If you'd rather snip it to me, if you'd rather do the work and then snip it to me and send it to me in an email, that's fine as well. Or you can print this page out at home. You can go ahead with your paper and pencil, do it with your pencil, and then take a picture of it and send it to me again as an attachment in an email. So let's take a look. The focus says many quilts are made using squares of fabric. These quilts can be designed by coloring squares in a grid pattern. The pattern helps the quilt maker plan how much fabric he or she needs. In this mini project, you will investigate how equivalent fractions can be used when designing a quilt. Then you will design your own quilt. Answer these questions to gather information for your project. So here we are going to work it out. So number one says, a quilt is 1/3 red, 1/6 blue, and 1/2 yellow. Write fractions that have a denominator of 12 and are equivalent to 1/3, 1/6, and 1/2. So you have a couple different choices. You can use your grid paper if that would help you. So let's take a look. We know that it's talking about having a fraction, right? A fraction that have a denominator of 12 and are equivalent. We know this word equivalent means equal to, okay? So we want it equal to or equivalent and to have the denominator of 12. So let's take a look at that first fraction, 1/3. So look here at my board. 1/3 is equivalent to, let's figure out what numerator would go up here. Well, remember the way that we can find, one way we can find equivalent fractions is by multiplying both our numerator and our denominator by the same number. So let's start, since we have 1/3 here and we know that we're getting our denominator to 12. Think about 3 times what equals 12. Think about this missing factor right here. 3 times what equals 12. Think about it. Hopefully you said 4, you were thinking 4, because 3 times 4 does equal 12. And you know what, let me write this a little bit better. Let's put our equal sign so we know that means equivalent, and here's my denominator, 12. So 3 times 4 equals 12. Whatever the rule is, whatever I multiply my denominator by, if I'm making an equivalent fraction, I need to multiply my numerator by that same number. So 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, so back up here to our question. It said a quilt is 1/3 red, 1/6 blue, and 1/2 yellow. Write fractions that have a denominator of 12 and are equivalent to 1/3, 1/6, and 1/2. So we just made 4/12, we found out, is equivalent to 1/3. So I just gave you that first answer. Go ahead and do the same thing for 1/6 and 1/2. Okay, you're going to write 1/6, make an equal sign, put your denominator of 12ths, and see if you can figure out 6 times what equals 12, and then you're going to multiply your numerator by that same number. Do the same for 1/2, okay? Take a look at that next part. It says, write fractions that have a denominator of 24 and are equivalent to 1/3, 1/6, and 1/2. So we're taking those fractions again, but this time, instead of having our denominator be 12ths, our denominator is going to be 24ths, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and show you on my board. If I'm starting with that first fraction, 1/3, and I want to make it equivalent to a fraction that has a denominator of 24ths, think about 3 times what will get you to 24. 3 times what will get you to 24? What is that missing factor? Hopefully, you're thinking of the factor 8 because 3 times 8 equals 24, okay? So the rule is whatever you multiply your denominator by, you're going to multiply your numerator by that same number, okay? 1 times 8 is 8. So we just made an equivalent fraction that's equal, it's equivalent to 1/3. It's equal or equivalent to 8/24. Okay, so that's going to be that first answer that you're going to type in for writing a fraction that has a denominator of 24 and is equivalent to 1/3. You're going to do the same for 1/6 and 1/2. Take that fraction 1/6. You're going to make a fraction that is equivalent to a fraction that has that denominator of 24. Write that fraction 24ths for your denominator and see if you can find the missing numerators. Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit with this work sample. Please make sure that you turn this work sample in on time. Work samples are a huge part of your grades for math and ELA, so make sure you get this done and turn it in to me on time. Thanks, friends.